Do you think it's connected?
It's probably connected by now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Miriam, co-founder and Q. COO of Keto Chow. Check us out at ketochow.xyz.
Yes, you just notified me. Oh, man. Anyway, I'm Chris. I'm also a co-founder. I'm the tech guy behind Keto Chow. And if you're brand new to Keto Chow, we make a variety of different products to help make doing a keto diet easier. Our main product is a meal replacement shake mix that you can customize to hit the macros that work best for you. We also have some electrolytes, which are really awesome.
We do this daily live stream to keep you updated on all our Keto Chow happenings, to help us be accountable and stay on track and have you with us on our journey. So thank you for joining us.
That's right. Carla says good morning. Patty says hi, Bears. Happy Saturday.
Yeah.
Missy says morning. Good Saturday morning. Lucy says happy Saturday. And Shauna says good morning too. With rosy cheeks. That's kind of weird, Shauna.
My eyes just started watering.
Oh, yeah? Well, so we were at work until about 11 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
Because our daughters... Anyway, we're going to be using an empty part of the Keto Chow warehouse to do a prom for our kids. A bunch of other parents and people. One lady who has a wedding
company.
Yeah, with all these different decorations and a big giant tent. They came and set that up. We were getting stuff ready so that they can take pictures and all this other stuff. I mean, we got home really late. So Betsy says, it's all good. The number's still good on lemon meringue. Yeah, still going good. Mm-hmm. We still have a lot of it. So Jerry says, what are you up to today? So the aforementioned prom.
Yep.
So because that got canceled back in March. Yeah, one of our daughters, she was actually going to go to prom with two different schools. Mm-hmm. She had a dress with a matching face mask.
The face mask came because,
Yeah. So they didn't get to do that. A lot of stuff didn't happen this year. So the mom who has the wedding business of one of our daughter's friends said, hey, can we use your warehouse? And we're like, yeah.
So it should be fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was getting all set up last night, and that will happen today. So, Patty says, missed your last 3 live streams due to collaboration meetings. She still has 14 hours of professional development to do before she can officially call it summer.
Ooh.
Yeah. Maitreya says, yikes, but the prom sounds great. And Miriam, I said, she rolled over. I said, so we've got a live stream in 4 minutes. And she's like,
okay.
Wasn't it 7 o'clock just a minute ago?
5 minutes ago. But all of a sudden it's 9.
Shauna says, are you guys going to dress up too?
No. I think I'm going to wear pants, not shorts.
Yeah. Or leggings?
And not flip-flops.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it all actually kind of worked out yesterday. It was kind of weird. But so we had a business lunch with one of our suppliers. And he's like, hey, we should have lunch. I'm just going to come up. We're going to have lunch. Like, okay, sweet. Gets Buffalo Wild Wings. He's like, okay. So he did. And that was, well, I had a hamburger patty last night because I was still kind of hungry, but that was like all that we ate yesterday.
Yeah, it was great because Buffalo Wild Wings always make me satisfied.
Yeah.
Are they yawning? Yawning.
Jetta says sunny and hot, but still gorgeous out. So it was raining really hard this morning. Wow. Did you hear that?
It woke me up this morning.
Yeah.
It sounded like somebody was taking buckets of water and splashing them against the window.
Yeah, that's about what it sounded like.
It was pretty heavy.
Fortunately, today is going to be 15 degrees cooler than it was yesterday, and tomorrow is supposed to be like 20 degrees cooler than today.
Yeah, because in that warehouse, we don't have the air conditioning up and running, so all the prom people will be hot.
Yeah, it's not just air conditioning. So that it's a warehouse. Warehouses typically do not have refrigerated air.
Yeah, it's swamp cooler.
Yeah, at best they have an evaporative cooler.
Which those aren't even working. So.
They're not working. They probably haven't worked in 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
The people who were in that space
Or
before
more.
then. Yeah.
I don't think they used them.
Yeah, the people who were in the space before us weren't using that section for anything but storage of boxes.
They just threw stuff in there and left.
Yep. And the people before that was, what was the name of the clothing place?
It wasn't.
Fashion
They weren't
Corner.
in there.
Fashion Corner was in there.
No, they weren't in there.
Yeah, they were.
They were in the one we're in right now.
Mm-mm. Nope. Fashion Corner was in the space that we're currently in. Okay. You can actually above the two doors, the main entrance, there's actually a sign that lists the other Fashion Corner warehouses.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So Floy says that's high, LOL. The hen. Candace says hello. Shauna says, Miriam, that counts.
That counts.
And Wright family says we didn't talk much on 2KK yesterday. I was going over recipes with Chris's aunt.
Oh,
nice.
Fun. Oh, and they won one of the
They did. So yesterday was actually kind of interesting. One of the guys, the husband of the lady who has all the wedding stuff, he had done keto using exogenous ketones in the past.
We had a good talk.
And yeah, so that was
we talked in.
It was a really good conversation. And then the father of one of my daughter's friends came. He's actually a driver for Swire Coca-Cola, which has a warehouse right next to ours.
He's a driver.
Yeah. So he used to be the guys who would grab a bunch of they would drive to the individual like small businesses.
Oh, okay.
And so he'd be rolling around with a hand truck and all that other stuff. Then he switched to driving the big trucks, which just pull up to a loading dock and then drive to another loading dock.
Oh, that's nice.
He said, "Yeah, but all of this went down here." he's like, I gained like 50 pounds.
Oh, because he wasn't lifting anything anymore.
Yeah, you would have to lift, you would have to run around. So, Betsy says she's down 2 more pounds, 9 total.
Awesome.
But I was talking to this guy, and he's like, "So wait, Baird?" I said, "Well, it's actually Bear." He's like Christopher Bear? I'm like, yeah. He's like, "I'm Randy Lamb." I'm like, what? There's a guy that I had known. Well, we went to middle school and high school together. We never really like hung out. We were friends with the same people, but it's like we didn't like hang out. But it was just crazy. It's like, wow, small world, man.
That's funny.
So him and his son, they were helping. I guess they're friends with the wedding people
that have the wedding company,
and so they help out setting up those things a lot. So it was crazy, but yeah. Oh, Wright family says we ordered ketones for Elizabeth. They should be here today. They're coming early.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that's we were talking about that with the ketones. Well, on the 2KK live stream yesterday, exogenous ketones do have their place. I personally, I keep on shaking the thing. Oh, I personally haven't ever had a need to use them myself. But Joe was saying on the live stream yesterday that when he went to go take his
drone test,
his pilot's license, I keep saying pirate license in my head. When he was going to get his pirate license, he took some because it would help with additional mental clarity. It's like a perfectly legal and perfectly good for you and okay way to just really amp up your brain. Another way to do that is to fast, and you would get the same results. Yeah. So yeah, exogenous ketones do have their place, especially in the treatment of epilepsy and neurological conditions. But if you're eating a bunch of carbs and then taking ketones, it's probably not the best thing. Mac Wario House said, question, can you drink 2 Keto Chows in a row, like within minutes after drinking one? Sometimes I don't feel full after drinking one. I've done that. Well, I had planned to do it. I would drink a Keto Chow and then drinking another one because I was doing kind of like one meal a day. Um, if you aren't getting full after drinking one, you probably aren't putting enough fat in it though.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because you
yeah.
need to feel full. Also, how far into keto are you? Because a lot of times we have this need to want to snack, or because it's a certain time of day, we want to eat because it's ingrained in our brain. We've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. And you don't need to do that. You have to kind of break that thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert Cywus has a really good video about not snacking. He said that every snack is an emotional event. And so if you need to have a moment, you should have a bridge instead of a snack. And he said, do coffee or tea,
Go get a bottle of water.
yeah. And he said the part of the reason why we want to have it so bad is because we need to take like a break,
Our brain
have a
needs a
little
break.
time out.
Yeah.
And so by, going and preparing your coffee and preparing whatever you're having, and you sit down and you have a book and you kind of let your brain reset for a minute, then that's the thing that you really are craving, not necessarily the snack.
Yeah. But you crave the snack because you associate it with the break.
Mm-hmm.
And your brain needs the break.
Yep.
Patty wants to know if we're giving Kate ketones.
We got some for her. She doesn't love them.
She doesn't like the flavor.
Yeah, but I've been having her put a little bit in with her Keto Chow, so that has been helping. And then I've been having her put MCT oil in her Keto Chow too. I haven't got her to take MCT oil by itself. I don't think we'll get her to do that.
It's better mixed into the Keto Chow, and it does the same thing. MCT oil and exogenous ketones, it just takes a little bit longer for the MCT oil to take effect, and you can't put too much MCT oil in her, or else it's bad.
Yeah, she hasn't actually taken any probably this whole week, but she also doesn't really like the flavor of the stevia. I think it's just she's been doing keto for a long time, and she says, "Oh, it's just too sweet, Mom." I'm like, well, let's throw some salt in there. Let's do something else. And
so Jerry wants to know what Robert Cywus's name is.
Robert Cywus.
How do you spell it?
Oh, Cywes.
Okay. And he calls himself the
Carb Addiction Doc.
The Carb Addiction Doc.
His videos are great because they're really short.
Very short.
So subscribe to his channel because he's pretty lay down the law.
He doesn't mince words a lot.
He's like, well, don't eat that. That's stupid. So he'll tell you how it is. And yeah, he's really great.
Floyd wants to know what are too high of ketones. So this is actually something that comes up a lot when people, a lot of medical professionals, their experience with ketosis and ketones is diabetic ketoacidosis.
Which you never want.
So with diabetic ketoacidosis, this happens generally in type 1 diabetics who are not controlling their diabetes their blood sugar with insulin. And so they get really high levels of glucose, sometimes on the order of 500 or 600. At that point, your liver starts to just freak out because it's like, I can't do it. And so it actually starts to produce a lot of ketones. Normal nutritional ketosis on a ketogenic diet will have you in the range of 1 to maybe up to 5 or even 6. And this is this is in millimolars per liter. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the number that you get if you use a ketone meter on your blood. So yeah, if you're over above like 0.5, hey, you are generating ketones. You're on a ketogenic diet. You're burning ketones. You're in ketosis. There's ketones present, so your brain is going to use them. Your other tissues are going to use them. Now, if you are, and like I said, that generally doesn't go above. Like if you go on a 2 or 3 day fast, you may see numbers as high as 3 or 4. Most people never get above like 1 point something or 2 point something.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever got higher than like 3.5.
And having the higher numbers it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's cool to look at, but it doesn't mean that you're doing stuff better. It just means that you have more ketones.
Yeah. Also, if you've been doing keto for a while, you may be able to utilize those ketones. So if you're not going to see the number as high anyway, because your body's better at using the ketones that you have. And
Yeah.
so that's another reason why you may not see super high ketones.
Yeah. Well, and so when we're talking about diabetic ketoacidosis, that's generally considered anything above a 9,
Yeah.
which
And that's
is
like get
really
yourself
high.
to the hospital.
Yeah, and so what happens at that point? That's why they call it acidosis. Ketones, they are a acid. Well, and so are fatty acids, fats. It just means it has a pH lower than 7. It doesn't mean it's particularly destructive. Our bodies know how to deal with this sort of stuff, and it puts them into molecules where it's not a problem. But if you have too much of it, if you go above around like 9 millimolars per liter, it starts to turn your blood acidic. It actually changes the pH. And where you really get into problems with diabetic ketoacidosis is when you hit numbers around 20.
Yeah.
And that's where it actually will start
really
to
scary.
decalcify your bones. And it will start to cause damage to your peripheral vascular system, your eyes, your fingertips, things like that. Now, again, this is diabetic ketoacidosis, and it really only happens for type 1 diabetics who don't produce their own insulin and are having this cascade failure where there's just crazy high numbers of glucose and crazy high numbers of
It can
ketones.
happen to type 2 diabetics.
It's really hard to happen with type 2 diabetics. I mean, you have to have insanely high numbers. It's not really seen very often.
Well, I know some people.
Yeah, it's okay. It's far more common in type 1, and it's not very common in type 1. So anyway, if you're on a ketogenic diet and you have a functioning pancreas, the likelihood of you experiencing really high numbers of ketones are almost zero. I do know of one person that got sick doing a regular ketogenic diet and started to have ketoacidosis, but it's not the sort of thing that you will normally see. Your body knows how to deal with ketones, and it's going to maintain levels below, like, I mean, seriously, the highest I've personally ever seen was like 5.8. And I was doing a crazy experiment where I was only eating Keto Chow for a long time and having a lot of MCT oil. So,
yeah.
Sorry, you sound like you're going to say something.
Whatever you do, if you're worried about it, talk to a doctor.
Yes.
Especially if you're on medication, that would be a good thing for you to do if you're doing keto. Another thing I was going to say is people with epilepsy or Alzheimer's or neurological problems will want to probably get therapeutic levels of ketones, which would be like higher.
And Floyd is talking about that.
Yeah, which would be in higher range, like the 3s and the 4s. And how to accomplish that would be fasting and eating a lot of fat and not a lot of everything else. So products would be hard to do because a lot of products play the fiber game.
They use fibers as a sweetener. I know a lot of people who use Keto Chow to maintain therapeutic levels of ketones.
But just really a lot of fat and not a lot of carbs, vegetables, whatever, just to keep that fat really high. Because even Kate will eat like a perfect keto cookie and she won't be able to get that high of ketones.
Yeah.
So you just have to decide what you need to do and why you're doing it. Also, you're going to have better cognition the higher number that you have, in my opinion.
Heather Lark's on.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather. Wright family was talking to McWhirr, Ohio, said a lot of times when our body needs water and electrolytes, we identify that as hunger.
Yeah, and you just need to drink water.
And Floyd has, they have a Keto Mojo, and they're always checking to make sure they're in therapeutic levels. Angie had a question about sugar substitute sweeteners. And now there's a term that people use a lot, kick me out of ketosis. Well, it's fun because it's K and K, kick me out of ketosis. That term is misused a lot. Now, can a sugar substitute sweetener kick you out of ketosis if you have too much of it? It depends. It depends
on what.
You go ahead.
It depends on what it is.
Yeah.
And how sensitive you are to it and how much of it you have.
Yeah, well, different sweeteners will actually do an amazing job, and other ones will be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the sweetener.
Your body.
Yeah, and your body. For instance, xylitol is a fairly okay, what's called sugar alcohol. That one has it doesn't affect our glucose levels as much, but it still does. But a lot of people will use it in keto cooking because it behaves a lot like sugar, especially for making
ice cream. Yeah.
But there's a better one, which is allulose.
And that's fairly new.
But some people don't respond well to allulose. There's erythritol, which doesn't work in recipes like sugar or xylitol or allulose.
It does, but it's just different.
Yeah, it's just different. Like it doesn't dissolve very well, so you have to grind it up if you're wanting to use it in like whipped cream or something like that. Then you get into the super sweet ones that are ultra concentrated, things like aspartame, sucralose, asulfamine, potassium, stevia. Those ones, they're high intensity sweeteners. So they're several hundred times sweeter than sugar. Mm-hmm. And with those ones, you're using a very minuscule amount. Now, a lot of those have been very heavily studied and exonerated for the most part every time. Other ones, there's a lot of bad press on them. I personally have tested myself and don't seem to have a problem with like any of those causing me any issues. I personally prefer sucralose because it tastes better and it doesn't have a weird aftertaste like Ace K and aspartame and all that. But there are some people who metabolically, it doesn't have a problem, but it actually gives them headaches. So it's a lot of test it out and see what works for everybody. Now, that said, if you go to Walmart or whatever store and you want to buy sugar-free sweetener, like if you want to get stevia in the raw, monk fruit in the raw, Splenda, all of those that measure like sugar, well, you're using a high-intensity sweetener, but then you want to measure it like sugar, so you have to bulk it up.
Mm-hmm. And so they'll put maltodextrin or dextrose, which is a starch, in to fill it up to make it measure like sugar, and then it just acts like sugar.
Because all starch is it's a glucose with a glucose with a glucose with a glucose with a glucose. It's a long chain of glucose. As soon as it hits your saliva,
it turns into glucose.
The enzymes split it up, turns into glucose. Game over, man. So,
which is why potatoes and bread are also sugar, even though you think they're not.
And rice. Yeah. So any sugar substitute that measures like sugar, you have to be very cautious of. Now, things like Swerve, which is primarily erythritol, or just flat out erythritol, the sugar alcohols, those measure like sugar because it's a massive sweetener. It has a lot of mass to it. Mm-hmm. So those ones aren't as bad, but yeah, we get a lot of people who they go to Costco and they see monk fruit in the raw and it's on sale and they're like, this is so sweet. And then they look at the first ingredient. It's like maltodextrin. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. So learn about the sugar-free products and the sweeteners that are out there, because another thing is you can't just go to the grocery store and get anything that's sugar-free.
Yeah.
And that was, my mom was diabetic for years and she would want to have a treat and get a sugar-free treat, and it's just as bad as getting a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Because it has the different sweeteners in it. So maltodextrin, maltitol, what are some other bad ones?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Now, Angie says, thanks for answering it. And Patty says, each person is unique and have to figure out what works and doesn't work for them. Maitreya Now, if I remember correctly, she's using a ketogenic diet to help with her epilepsy.
I didn't remember that.
And she says xylitol and allulose both give me spikes, but erythritol and monk fruit and liquid sucralose does not. Self-testing, since everyone is different. She says, "Oh, and by the way, self-test fasting, then a spoon of liquid sucralose." Herc. Lisa wanted to know what form of sucralose can you purchase?
You can get it in drops.
Yeah, or these little. There's this thing that has like a little dispenser that has a little teeny. It looks like a pill, so it's pure sucralose in the form of a little pill, and it's like each one of those is the equivalent of a spoonful of sugar. Richard Morris likes to use those in his coffee and tea.
Okay.
As this little dispenser, and just ka-chink, and a little one falls out. Just this tiny little thing. So, Candace says, I ate a packet of Truvia to test on its own. Haha, I know how you feel. There you go.
Yeah, because Truvia, it has good things in it, but
it's mostly erythritol with some stevia. Truvia isn't the best one. I would actually prefer Swerve over Truvia.
But if you can't find it, sometimes we've used it.
Yeah. And Heather says, what do you use besides Swerve? She's not a fan of the cooling sensation and aftertaste. Try if you
allulose.
Order some allulose on the internet, which is about the only place you can find it.
We
and
get it from
try that
Hills.
out. Mm-hmm.
Anthony's might have some now.
I think they do. But some people don't do well with allulose. But allulose is really interesting stuff because it behaves like it cooks, it browns, it freezes, it melts, it's sticky just like sugar. But for most people, it does not cause the rise in insulin. So like you can make candied almonds with it. It's actually really interesting stuff. Floyd says, my mom was also diabetic. That's why I fight against diabetes.
Me too, yeah.
I have so far beaten that beast, always on the go. And then, Candace said liquid sucralose is the best form. Splenda has a liquid sucralose, and Kroger brands have a brand they called Apriva. And that's the thing with sucralose. Yeah. It's in its pure powdered form. It's insanely difficult to measure.
Yeah.
Like a full serving of Keto Chow has 0.08 grams.
Which is like the end of this toothpick.
Yeah, it is so hard to measure. And so when you make a giant batch of something, like you can put in the equivalent of a 16th of a teaspoon, and it's like, all right, that will make 50 gallons. But when you are doing the liquid sucralose, they can dilute it down, mix it with water, so that each drop is the equivalent of, say, an entire teaspoon of sugar. So the liquid stuff actually works out really well. And generally speaking, it's not going to have any other weird stuff because they don't have to bulk it up, because the bulking agent is water. So let's see. Mac Warrior says, drink gallons of water, 2 bouillon cubes a day, and Keto Chow electrolytes. There you go. Shauna says, teeny tiny pill reminds me of tea with milk and a pill of saccharin with my grandma when I was a little girl. English grandma tea and melted cheese on toast. One of our sons the other day, he had a cup full of cheese that he was just sitting there eating. I'm like, dude, throw that in the microwave and melt it. It's like, why didn't I think of that?
So then he tries to eat it, and of course it's all stuck together. So he dumps it on a plate and he pushes it around, and I'm like, okay.
Floyd says, I've mixed my erythritol in liquids and don't get the cooling sensation. Oh, there you go. Sarah says, my 2-year-old wanted to say
hi.
Yeah. All right, well, we probably better get going.
We should see our kids.
Yeah. I'm assuming that they're all... I can hear somebody...
I heard someone clanking something
clanking
down
a
there.
plate.
Sounds like breakfast going on.
That's right. And then we heard the chickens this morning.
Yeah, that was noisy.
They were doing the, I laid an egg, everybody come and see.
Come and see. Look and see.
All right. Shauna says melted cheese is life. Yes, it is. Jerry says, where could I find all this sweetener info listed the way you just explained it?
Do we have a post?
No.
Well, we'll make one.
I should probably make one. Now, there is a post on the Keto Chow site about sucralose, because we use that in Keto Chow, and so a lot of people are like, "Why are you using sucralose? Isn't that going to light your hair on fire and kill your dog?" No, that's xylitol is going to kill your dog. But anyway, I
But it
guess I'll
won't
have to
light
make
your
one.
hair on
It
fire.
won't light your hair on fire. So anyway, okay, I'll have to make that post. But thanks everybody for joining us. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you all on Monday.
Monday.
Because tomorrow we're going to for realsy sleep in, right?
Yeah. This is sleeping in too. We just got to bed so late it doesn't feel like it.
I know. Oh my gosh, my neck hurts so bad. Okay. Well, thanks everybody.